Comedy Parenting Radio. Tell it to the magistrate.
Kind of like the Amber Alert for Roadkill.
That is somewhat of a personal question, but seeing how I am in your studio, I will go ahead and divulge into some of my secrets.
Oh.
Roadkill Hotline.
Okay, now you're listening to Comedy Parenting Radio.
And then from out of nowhere, great big bright lights are coming at you. There have been times I couldn't tell what it was.
Welcome to Comedy Parenting. My name's Jerry Begley. I'm your host, and in the studio today we have Davy with us, and we brought him all the way in from Gypsum, Colorado. Davy is an expert in roadkill, so today's topic is roadkill. Welcome to the show, Davy.
Thanks, Jerry. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm honored to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Now, roadkill, for those people who don't know what it really is, it's usually something found on the highway that's flat, and it may have been furry or fuzzy at one time. Is that correct?
Well, it's typically what roadkill is like. It may be furry, fuzzy, or feathered. A lot of things have feathers, too.
Oh, feathered. I hadn't thought about that. And I guess you could have roadkill of even a reptile roadkill. Would that be possible?
Yeah. You find the reptilian sort more in the southern states, the southwestern states. You will come across it occasionally around here, but too much altitude. Plain and simply.
Altitude. Okay, so tell me a little bit about roadkill, Davy. What kind of vehicles tend to create roadkill more than other vehicles?
Fast ones over slow ones.
So if it's a fast vehicle, that'll give you more.
They're much more effective at creating this phenomenon we call roadkill. It's I don't know really what it is. Sometimes size plays into it, but even then, it really needs to have the speed in order to create this change that we have in nature, going from a live animal to roadkill. It's not the changing species; it's just changing forms a little bit.
Well, so you're saying something like, say, a bulldozer going down the road wouldn't necessarily make roadkill, would it?
There haven't been many instances that I'm aware of.
Of bulldozer roadkill?
No, not very many.
Okay. Now, is it true that some people stop and examine roadkill? You ever do that? Like, actually get out of your car and look at it?
That is somewhat of a personal question, but seeing how I am in your studio, I will go ahead and divulge into some of my secrets. Yes, some of us do investigate roadkill. Sometimes it's merely to find out what the roadkill is. Sometimes it's to see if there are any salvageable parts on the roadkill.
What kind of a part would you salvage from a roadkill? Like, what would you say, like teeth? Or
teeth, possibly, claws. It could be fur. The fur, maybe the fur's intact. I could use that for something. Meat. What? That's good sometimes too.
Yeah. Let's get honest here now. Have you ever eaten something that was hit by a car?
Many times.
And like, what kind of meat would it be?
Well, back when my family and I lived in Idaho, we acquired a roadkill cow moose.
A moose?
A moose, yes. Some poor soul had hit this moose and her calf with a very compact car. And everybody lived but the two mooses, or mice.
Okay, we're in the studio right now at Comedy Parenting Radio with Davy, and we're talking about roadkill. We'll be back in just a minute.
Let's take them to the bullfrog opera and the raccoon's masquerade ball. We've got Broadway.
Treesock Press sells the books that stay on your shelves. When you want books that your guests pick up and read and can't put down, make sure it's one of Tree Sock Press's comedy books. Get a copy of her new book, Dad, the Tooth Fairy Didn't Come, and your kids will want you to read it over and over and over until you pull what little hair you have left out. When you put your books out into the gutter, you'll feel complete guilt if it's a Tree Sock Press book. Get your Tree Sock Press book wherever lousy comedy books are sold. Tree Sock. It stays on your shelf.
Understanding your finances is a key to a strong financial future. Don't be the one who gets left behind. Visit feedthepig.org for tools and tips to get started on the path to financial stability. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Hey, we're back with Comedy Parenting Radio program, and we got Davey in the studio. We're talking about roadkill, and Davey said he has eaten a moose that was hit by a car, and we were talking about salvageable parts on roadkill. What else could you salvage?
Horns, that's a big thing, and as a matter of fact, you have to be on the ball.
Wait, hold
if
on.
you are gonna.
I'm picturing in my mind like a cow, like cow horns.
No, more like elk or deer or moose horns,
okay.
or if it's a bighorn sheep.
Okay.
You know, stuff like that. Antlers.
Right.
Yeah, but it's...
What do you do with them? The horns. Do you make soup out of them or what?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Got a big horn collection there down in the basement. Come look at my collection of roadkill horns.
I don't really know what you do with them. I don't worry about that. I just see if I'm the first one to get them or not.
Okay. All right. Salvageable parts from roadkill. Are there any roadkill that you cannot identify what it used to be?
Yeah. But I think that would change the rating on this show. I mean, it's... It might go from G to PG at that point. There have been times I couldn't tell what it was. If it's a skunk, it's pretty obvious that it's a skunk. Skunk don't ever really change. There's very few animals that are black and white and smelly. Skunk is always easily identified, but sometimes if it's more in the canine family, you don't really know if it's a fox or if it's a coyote or if it's
a frog.
Fido. You know,
a frog.
Well, frogs are pretty easily identified too. They're rarely over a quarter-inch tall afterwards.
Well, you mean once it's been hit, it's not more than a quarter-inch tall?
Yeah.
Okay. Are roadkill the people who study roadkills? Are they more of a lonely type person?
No, as a matter of fact, there's quite a few of us. But it is...
Do you have like Saturday breakfasts or anything like that? Talk about roadkill?
No, because there are some secrets of the trade that, well, we like to keep them as secrets. We don't like to give away our migratory routes where we like to maybe hang out and frequent those certain stretches of the road where there's almost always a guarantee there's going to be something relatively fresh.
Just out of curiosity, do people ever like shove animals out onto the road to see if they'll get hit?
Have I done that?
Does anybody ever do that? Like
well, I don't know about that.
Chase something out there hoping that it'll get hit?
I don't know about hoping it would get hit. I know it happened to me on accident one time, but it wasn't on purpose.
You accidentally chased an animal that went out and got hit?
Well, it more or less followed me out there.
You were out playing in the street with animals getting hit, huh?
Well, looking both ways is an individual choice, so...
But that kind of gets back to the old deer in the headlights look. What's the deal with that? Why do deer just look and stop?
Well, imagine this.
I mean, all the deer that I've ever hit with my vehicles, they were always running across the road. They weren't stopping.
Right.
But why do they stop?
That's because they were running before they got to the road. Okay? So you have to look at it from a deer's perspective. Let's say that you are walking through the woods. Okay, just imagine yourself walking through the woods. You have been eating nice little sweet bunches of grass, and you step out onto what is very even, hard-packed ground. It's easy walking. There's nothing to trip over. And then from out of nowhere, great big bright lights are coming at you at a very alarming rate. Would you be surprised? Would you be fearful? Might you suddenly be frozen in your tracks? That's all it is.
That happens to me all the time when I'm in the city. So, okay, so the deer just kind of sit there because they're a little bit out of their league.
They're surprised.
What do you think might be some of the weirdest animals that ever get, roadkilled?
Armadillos?
What do they look like?
Well, they're all pretty flat, but in their animal form, they're little round creatures, but they have this nasty little habit of right before impact, they will jump up off the ground. And so where they might just be run over harmlessly.
Wait. An armadillo will jump up in the air right before impact.
Yes, and that's because the armadillo, in order to curl up into his little tight ball that he uses to protect himself, he jumps up in the air to do it. But what that does is it places his little rock-hard carcass right in your radiator or right in your headlight, whereas normally you just run over him and smear him. But now it's really quite a sweet way to go.
So it's kind of like croquet or something like that.
Or kamikaze,
soccer.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like kicking a soccer ball maybe.
Made of
with your car.
A bowling ball, soccer ball, maybe.
Okay, a bowling ball. So, okay, Comedy Parenting Radio. We'll be back in just a moment with more roadkill stories.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Okay, we're back in the studio. We've got Davy here, Comedy Parenting Radio, and today's topic is roadkill. Davy has eaten roadkill moose. He's talking about how armadillos get clobbered by cars by jumping up in the air and curling up in a ball while they're up in the air. Anything else unusual about roadkill you'd like to tell us, Davy?
There's so much. It is really quite difficult to know where to begin. I think it's really quite an epidemic. It's an epidemic in our country that so many people hit so many animals, and there is so much waste going on. I really can't stand it.
How would you stop it?
I really ought to think there ought to be some kind of roadkill hotline that you can sign up for, and if you hit something, you call this hotline, and this hotline sends out a flash of texts or emails or phone calls that notifies certain individuals of maybe my type that there is fresh roadkill in it, and it gives GPS coordinates or mile markers.
Kind of like the Amber Alert for roadkill.
Yes, precisely. And I think that there's possibly potential for money to be involved too. I think it's a good business opportunity.
All you roadkill people can get out there and scoop up the dead whatever and salvage it.
We could even turn it into a monthly subscription. Because the amount of money that you would save monthly on fresh meat would by far pay for your subscription.
I'm not going to say that that's not necessarily fresh. I mean, if it's got rubber on it. But that's the point
of the hotline, is to make sure it's fresh.
Okay. Well, you've got it right here, folks. It was Comedy Parenting Radio. Today's topic was roadkill. Davey in the studio, thanks for coming out. And hey, Davey, give me your cell phone number, and if I hit anything on the way home after work today, I'll give you a call, all right?
Okay, Jerry. Sounds like a plan.
Thanks for coming out. You've been listening to Comedy Parenting Radio. Tune in next week when our topic is, well, we don't know what the topic is. We make it up on the spot. All right, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
So where are you headed?
Aspen.
California. Beautiful.
You're listening to Comedy Parenting Radio.